皆さんこんにちは。GHOVC の安永です。今アレンマイナーさんにいろいろ組織づくり、ハイアリング、それから会社が成長するにあたって組織、CEO とあとは VP レベルのチームどういうふうに変えていった方がいいかというのを聞いています。で前回ですね、いわゆるいろいろチームも日本ってどうしてもホモジニアスで、同じステーブルで、家族経営みたいなところがあって、それはいいことっていうふうなことがありました。でもそれってもう変えていってもいい。特にグローバルで戦うためにはそういったダイナミックにチームを入れ替えていくことっていうのが大事だなっていうふうなことを話しました。My next question is, it's very hard to change by themselves.You need some outside forces to make a change.
Especially if they're Japanese.
Especially, yes. And I think the investor, the venture capital, has to play some key role to execute on that. What's your opinion about the optimal role of the venture capitalist?
Interesting. Yes. The most important role for a VC is to be a trusted mentor to the entrepreneurs and the leadership teams.of the companies that they invest in. For me, that's what good venture capital is all about. And what that means, there are two parts to it. It means in order to be trusted, you have to be forthright with them, honest. They have to believe that you have their interest first, more than that of your fund or the LPs. So trust really only comes when someone believes you're looking out for them, not for yourself. Trust, in the case of the startup world, I think has to come, and trust and mentoring have to come from, do you have relevant experience? Do you have a network of friends that you can call on? When the CEO or someone leadership is struggling with a challenge, can you give advice that's useful to them, or can you interact with them in a way that helps them discover a solution to the problem themselves? So you talk specifically about the hiring and refreshing management is difficult, maybe needs gaiatsu. In my experience, often the leaders know they have to make a change. And the difficulty is there's a complex personal relationship, there's trust within the leadership team, and it's uncomfortable and difficult to make that change. So sometimes the role of the VC is sit down, if the founder knows he needs to make a change, but it's hard, sit down together and talk about, is there any role for this person in the company still? Is it time for him to move to a different company? Or is it just that the company needs someone more senior to come in and that person would work? And so thinking through when the CEO knows you need to make a change, how to make that change smoothly. And the more times that someone has experienced that, if a VC has experience as a manager or experienced multiple times, mentoring startups. Trusted mentor, I think, is a really good alternate label for a quality VC.
I see.
A type of VC that I'm seeing more and more in Japan that concerns me is there are lots of VCs who say what VC is putting money in maybe 20 or 30 startups and getting one of them to be a unicorn. And if you get one unicorn, the whole fund works. And that's not the model that I want to pursue. It's not the model that I think we're trying to pursue as GHOVC. I used to talk about the venture capital success model a lot. And I would talk about if you invest in 10 companies as a VC, in those days, on average, you would have 2 companies that had a successful exit and made money for the fund. And if those 2 companies, on average, produced 5 times return the money you invested, then the fund would be whole. You would almost always have about 5 companies that became worthless. That there was a great idea, but it didn't work out. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. So you have 5 companies that disappear, 2 companies that manage themselves really well, and you spend all of your time as a VC. You forget about and ignore, and you learn from the mistakes of the 5 that failed. You don't really have to do much to help the 2 leaders succeed. Where a really good VC produces good returns and adds value is in the 3 that are in the middle. The 3 that are struggling. They haven't figured it out yet. They're not. There's still potential, but they're struggling to reach it. You leave the 2 alone, you forget about the 5, you spend all your time on the 3. And the really good VCs figure out how to take one of those 3 companies and work with the management team, turn them into a success. And so the idea that's very common in the VC world today is invest in a lot of companies, one of them will become a unicorn, you're good. I think it's irresponsible and it's just gambling.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a lucky bet. And I've had great luck with some of my investments.
Right.
And I cannot claim that the 31 times return I got on the investment in Macromill was because of me. I participated in mentoring, but it was because of great management. I was lucky to meet them. I was lucky to know Mark from my time at Oracle and have the chance to build Salesforce Japan for him. There was a lot of luck in, and maybe it's 100% luck in the unicorn successes, but there's a lot of work on the part of the VC, on the part of entrepreneurs that can figure out how to take the 1 out of 10 or the 2 out of 10 that are doing just fine, don't really need much help. They just need you to, good job, keep it up.
Right.
The encouragement and enthusiasm, and having a perspective of seeing other successful companies that you're doing better than Sano-san back in the day. You're doing just as well as Uda-san did at Salesforce. To have that perspective, to give them confidence that what they're doing is right when you praise them. To not just be clapping to be clapping, but you can actually compare them to somebody. Say, you're actually doing better than so-and-so who's a famous success. And the other part of it is the ability to walk away from and give up on and help entrepreneurs. Sometimes you have to help the entrepreneur see that it's not going to work out and it's okay. It's okay. It's not a bank loan. They don't have to return it. They have a great team. That team should move on and do something with their talents new. And so sometimes the role of VC is to help a CEO figure out that he's tried hard enough. He's worked hard enough. The team was great. They did their best. And for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out. It's okay to move on.
Yeah, I remember you were saying in the past, hands off is also important.
Sometimes, it's actually that's the most hands-on job you do is sitting down with the entrepreneur and helping him figure out that maybe it's okay to move on and do something new.
タオルを投げる.
It's okay.
It's okay to fail and let's move on to the next step. That's also the important role.
That's important role.
Okay. My last questions. Okay, so we established GHOVC. And so what you've been in the VC market for a long time, and for the audience sake, he is the first venture capitalist in Japan who was on the Midas list. So with your track record, with your history, how do you think what GHOVC can do?
There is a huge missing gap in the Japanese startup ecosystem. So it's come a long way in the last 23 years. It's a much more amazing environment for startups now than 23 years ago. But back then and even now, there is no really good example of a Japanese technology startup that has successfully grown its business beyond Japan. And this is something that's frustrated you and I for at least 10 years, maybe 15 years. We've been talking about it. When I started Sunbridge, I wanted to make my life work doing anything I can to help the Japanese startup ecosystem become stronger and better and more dynamic and more successful. And this failure to globalize successfully is the last big missing piece in my mind. And so when you introduced me to your friend Oikawa-san from Google and Sri from Silicon Valley, and of course we both worked with Drew Dasher for a long time, this is a team where for you and I, there's stuff we bring to the table, but both Oikawa-san and Sri also bring very different skills. You talked about diversity of the team. And I talked about shared values. And within GHOVC, we have both. We have a very diverse set of talents. I don't think there's much overlap at all in what each of us brings to the table. And we share a very deep commitment to serving the startups we work with. Our goal is not, of course, we expect to make great returns on our investments, but that's not what's driving us. We've all had enough successes in our careers. We don't need just another success. We don't just need more money. We of course we have to manage the fund responsibly. But what drives us is the belief that somebody's got to figure out how to help Japanese startups globalize successfully again. The fact that we don't have great examples in technology since Canon and Toyota and Sony and Nintendo, that the recent global successes are all in retail. It's Uniqlo, Muji, and Jeans are the only companies formed in the last 20, 30 years that I can think of that have a successful international presence. And Japan has so much more to offer than just clever retailing strategies. And when you introduced me to the team that you had begun together, I said, this is it. If this team working closely with entrepreneurs, mentoring them, earning their trust, helping them think through the challenges, helping them learn from the strengths and weaknesses of their overseas operations, learn from their successes. If we can't figure out how to do it, I can't imagine that there is a team anywhere in Japan that can figure this out. So for me, it's the culmination of my career. It's the last missing piece.
Don't say last.
Needs. Well, it's the last piece. It's the last piece of
in
the
Japan,
ecosystem.
right? Yeah.
It's the last piece of the ecosystem needs, and nobody's figured it out. And I really believe that because we share the same values, or the same kachikan in how we interact with people. I've never met a team that is each individually this successful, that are also individually this humble.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone in our team thinks that everybody else is better than them, more capable. And so anyway, I think a team that shares the same values, that has diverse skills, that's addressing a problem that needs to be solved in Japan's market. We'll have our failures like every VC. There will be companies that we can't figure out. But I know there will be companies that, because they work with us and we work with them, we will have many startups that we work with that figure out how to become the next Salesforce, the next Oracle, the next Concur, because we'll identify. We know how to identify products that have the potential. We know how to identify technologies and products that have the potential, and teams that with coaching and help have the potential. And we also know how to build the business, to build the teams and help them with networks. And so it's very exciting for me to be part of this team.
Thank you.
And
we are here.
we're here for the startups.
For the startups, You're here to change this Japanese ecosystem.アレンさんって、今ずっとお話をしてて、本当にこう実績があって01をやってきてチームを作ること、それから、本当にマイルストーンを設定してモチベートして、さらにチームを進化するっていうことをすごいたくさんやってきて、で本当にそういった人がGHOVCのチームにいて、でいわゆる GHOVCの投資先、本当に起業家の皆さんを、彼の、経験とネットワーク、それからまた朱里とか及川とかですね、ダッシャー先生の経験とネットワークを使ってサポートしていきたいと思っています。なので起業家の皆さん、どうぞ我々の方、もしグローバルに戦いたいというふうな方がいらっしゃいましたら、ぜひご連絡ください。ありがとうございました。
よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。